And if you're making sure that it's safe, that you're not criticizing or anything, it's just, this is what works and what doesn't, then it makes everything a lot easier.
Okay, so I think in any situation that you have with your partner, especially in arguments, you have to learn how to handle con constructive criticism from both sides of the coin, meaning
Mm.
you're able to convey what you have to say and what's bothering you in a mature and cool, calm, and collected manner, and just in a way that's the other person can hear you because you're not attacking, you're not defensive, you're not trying to make them feel bad. You're just reflecting it to them in a way that shows that you really care and that you want to improve together and you want to help them improve as a person. Like a lot of times I tell Zev, I know that I can be very cynical. I know that my British humor that I inherited from my father can be very harsh at times. And I want you to be able to tell me because I don't want to be that person who's being way too cynical and
Mm.
laughing at your expense and making you feel bad because I don't want that. And I want you to help me improve in that sense. That's A. And B, being able to receive in the same kind of calm mentality where this person's not attacking me, this person's not trying is not out to get me. I don't need to get defensive. I just need to hear them out, listen to them. We often think we know more and better than we actually do. And a lot of times, like in arguments with friends and partners, I got straight away defensive, like, what are you talking about? This is not me. But then afterwards, when I calm down and I really think about it, and I'm like, oh my God, there's there's a lot of things that are in my, blind spots that I can't see. Us as humans, we have a lot of blind spots that we can't see.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a gift to have someone in your life who's able to point them out to you in a way that's trying to help you and wants you to do and be better. So I think it's important to learn how to perceive those key notes of, this is bothering me or not. You know what? Even if it has nothing to do with you, maybe it has something to do with the relationship and communication. I think it's part of it is just like, what's the point of trying to win an argument or these ego battles? I think if you want to have a strong, healthy relationship and get out of this argument in one whole piece and even smarter and better than you were before, then you don't want to win the argument. You want to win together. You want to, the goal is to understand what's wrong and fix it together. So, you have to communicate it as if you're talking about the weather, maybe
Yeah.
not to that extreme, but really have a calm conversation about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's, I observe this often, whether it's myself or friends or people around me and I think it's a feminine trait that we as like women have trouble kind of accepting our faults, because not
Mm.
to sound cliche or something, but women are so perceptive and like so like traditionally, and we want to avoid being cancelled, but it's typically traditionally very feminine to just be observant and kind of catch the details and things like that. And but that doesn't make us right 100% of the time. Actually, definitely not. It just makes us a bit more
Mm.
perceptive, but that it kind of leads to a misguided notion that we're right and other people are wrong. And so we're not gonna reevaluate our way of acting and thinking in that regard. And just like, if I can't really come up with a decent example, but if JT were to say something to me that's negative, I could, no, but you're wrong, and list him all of the reasons of why I'm wrong, and just kind of not hear the fact that uh, this is not being right or wrong. This is, I'm feeling uncomfortable about this, so I'm behaving like this because of this behavior. We're not talking about right or wrong. We're talking about comfort and discomfort, and it's and I see this a lot in in, you know, in like heterosexual relationships, or, you know, like these friendship dynamics where women will kind of like silence the men of just like, yeah, I'm right, because of all of these reasons. And it's just, you know, this isn't about being right or wrong. This is about how the other's feeling. And, you know,
Mhm.
emotions have no, you know, it's not, you know, how to put this, you know, this isn't pragmatic. This is just emotion of just, you know, yeah, you're right, you have to see it. For example, let's say I make some noise in the evening or whatever, and he would say, you know, don't make noise in the evening because I'm trying to sleep. And I would say, but I'm trying to get ready for work, to get a head start in the morning, and list all of these extremely valid reasons of why I need to make noise in the evening. And it's just, that's not the point. The point is, he's feeling tired. What can we do to, you know,
Mhm.
resolve that? And it's purely emotions. It's not, you know, nothing to do with anything else. And that's kind of difficult to do. And something that you said about, you know, communication and feeling and things, it's, you know, and it gets, these things get blown out of proportion of, you know, if somebody dares say something that goes against what we're thinking, then it becomes toxic and it becomes manipulative and gaslighting. And it's just like, you know, we need to tone these things down. We've said this before, of just like, you know, you, your way of thinking and behaving is not the best way. And last time, well, one of the times we talked about Laurie Gottlieb and, you know, idiot compassion and things like that. You know, when
Mhm.
they say, when I had a conversation with JT's ex a while back now, and she was saying, I tell my friends about this and they all agree with me. And I'm like, that doesn't mean anything. You know, that does not mean anything. You you know, this is, you know, this is overall ridiculous. Of, you know, that you might be in the right. And to be honest, some of the things that she was complaining about, I agreed with her. Like, I thought JT, you know, didn't react in the best way, and I agreed with her. But a whole bunch of other things, I'm just like, one, the way you know, presented it to your friends had to have been, you know, in a good light for you. And two, you know, it's idiot compassion. And I wouldn't even call it idiot compassion. It's just sometimes, you know, I can feel myself just agreeing with people in my surroundings, not because I agree, but because I can, you know, I kind of quickly assess, is it worth me explaining why I disagree? It'll go into an
Mhm.
argument. Do I, you know, how much time do I have? How much energy do I want to put into this? How is it going to change my life? And I end up being like, yeah, sure. Do you see what I mean? And it's,
Yeah. It's just not worth getting into an argument with, because the person's gonna, you can't be bothered to, because you know the person's gonna try and justify them and
yeah,
just drag it out into this thing, and like, who has energy for that,
exactly.
for the drama? And we have a tendency as humans to want to be right all
Yeah,
the time. And this is, I think this is something that for a while now I've been trying to release from my lexicon, and to release from my mentality of just wanting to be right all the time, because we can't possibly always be right, and we can't possibly always know everything. and and just the fact that we always think we're right is just blocking us from learning new
yeah,
things, from moving forward, from uh, from we're blocking people out of our lives because it's pushing people away. Who wants to talk to someone who's just so set on their ways that they're not
yeah,
willing to be flexible? There's no possible way anyone else's opinion can possibly be legitimate, or no one else's point of view can be correct. It's just me. And I think that, who said this, that the one of the best things you can do, one of the best qualities you can have, is to be able to unlearn something and then relearn it. I think there's some Einstein quote or something, there's something like that,
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
And we just a lot of times aren't capable of letting go of that. I want to be right. I want to be the person
yeah.
that comes out on top of it. And why? If you want to grow as a human being and develop, it's important to understand that you can't possibly always be right. And you were saying about like the idiot compassion, I call them yes men. If like, you know, you just want people to agree with you all the time, what's the point in that? What are you going to learn from that, of just having someone constantly just agree with you? And so you just become a more oblivious person, less self-aware. And I mean, you just end up pushing people away that in that way. So I think it's important to try and learn to let go of this kind of mentality of wanting people to agree with you. I think you need to, I think it actually should be quite the opposite, where surround yourself with people who challenge you, who don't just say yes ma'am, or you're right, and he's a bastard, and he's this and he's that, and you're the perfect person. If you want to be able to move forward with your life and be a good person and develop, then you want to have people in your life that are reflecting back to you things that you're doing wrong, and things that you may not be right on, or things that you just can't see, like I said beforehand, with your blind spots. And in general, I think it's so unhealthy to just, it's very stressful. I can just wanting to be right all the time, and because that, you know what, that makes you want to pick fights and argue more instead of being able
Yeah.
to have a calm and productive conversations. Like when you just want to be right, and when you just want the other side to agree with you, that's inevitably going to cause an argument, and no one's going to end up winning. And I think the most productive thing you can do is put your ego aside. And I think it makes you a better person, and it doesn't put you down to say, I'm putting down my ego for a bit. Not to say that you're putting yourself down, or you're saying I'm less worthy, I'm less this, I'm less that. It's just saying you're putting it aside because you are very confident and you are very strong in yourself, that you're able to do that. You know, you're able to say, I'm not always right, and I don't want everyone to agree with me 100% of the time, and I have things to learn, and other people can help me. And I think that makes you stronger than any ego battle
Yeah, and I
that you
think
could ever have.
you want to look at, you know, what are the consequences to, if I'm right, what are the consequences, and if I'm wrong, what are the consequences? And I think that's how you can distinguish between, like, you know, good behavior and bad behavior and clumsy behavior and things like that. Of, for example, so a while back, I don't know if I ever talked about this, but so one of my ex-boyfriends got beat up by a common friend that we had because she had, like, was drunk and high.
I think I remember something about this. I
I
think
must
I
have
do.
spoken about
Yeah,
I must have spoken about
yeah,
it
yeah.
in one of the breakup episodes. And I had a really tough conversation with her, which kind of led to her and I kind of like ending our friendship, because she was, we were disagreeing, just like, so, like, it was a huge clash between us. And I was thinking about it recently, which is why it's come back. And I'm like, the consequences of, if I'm thinking that I'm right in being upset about her behavior, is that she, is violent and not, violent and, chaotic and dangerous. And if she's right about how to illustrate this properly, of just, if you're holding on to values, and you're right to hold on to these values, like me, if I'm holding on to the values of, like, not over drinking, not, doing drugs and things like that, the consequence to, if I put these values aside, is violence. And it's putting